Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's get started, and we will start with the defense. Ready? And at that time you met with the 3 gentlemen you have mentioned earlier? Yes, sir. And was the situation with respect to the cashmere coats discussed? Yes, sir. What was said, I do not recall, but you have a distinct recollection that it was discussed? Yes, sir. Do you recall what any of the Sharp Outfits personnel said? Not really, sir. Do you have any recollection of the substance of what was said? It's very vague. We were discussing what was available for immediate purchase. I am talking about the problem of the coats. Was there any discussion about that? Yes, there was, sir. But you don't remember any of the discussion? I do not remember any of the specifics, sir. You don't remember the substance? I remember we were to solve the problem of the cashmere coats. Was that one of the purposes of your trip down to Sharp Outfits at that time? One of them. And did you make any suggestions as to how to solve the problem of the cashmere coats? I think so. Tell us what suggestions you made. I was placing orders to follow the business that I was intending to do with Sharp Outfits. That was what you had agreed to do in the late spring? Yes, but the time was ready and prime for placing the fall or winter merchandise that I needed. I am talking about resolving the problem with the cashmere coats. I am not talking about what you may or may not have needed. This was the way to resolve it. Let me see if I understand you. You were placing orders that you had promised to place in the late spring? Yes, sir. Now, did any of the Sharp Outfits personnel make any suggestions on how to resolve the problem of the cashmere coats? Yes, sir. Who was it that made some suggestions? Mr. Roberts. And what suggestions did Mr. Roberts make? My memory is very cloudy, sir. Can you pierce through the clouds and come up with any substance? I don't think so. Don't guess at anything. Your only recollection is that a proposal was made and you don't remember the substance of that. I can't accept that. I am trying to remember, sir. Take as much time as you want. Will you give me a little time? Sure. There was a discussion as to the way Mr. Roberts wanted the cashmere problem solved. He wanted the chargeback absorbed over several years. Is that it? Yes. He made that suggestion to you? Yes, it was a discussion. What did you say? I didn't think it would be possible. So there was no agreement on that. There was no agreement on that. Did you say that you would take that matter up with someone else? I do not recall. Was that the only proposal from Mr. Roberts? The only one I remember. What did you understand him to mean when he said he wanted a chargeback absorbed over several years? He did not want the chargeback taken at once. It was to be eliminated from the books by a deduction from a purchase or a payment. Let's get into our transcript and get a little four voice practice. Ready? We'll start with the plaintiff. What do you recall in that regard? She asked him to help mop up a portion of the floor. And did Ron do that? Yes, he did. The items that you seized of with respect to your 2 purchases from Ron, did you seize and retain those items? Yes, I did. And similarly submit them to the lab for analysis? Yes. The same lab as the prior items? Yes. And did you receive a report back on those? Yes, I did. All right, Your Honor, at this time I think we'll have a stipulation that both rocks and the baggie that have been discussed were seized and analyzed. One of the so-called rocks came back at a 0.38 grams of cocaine. The other one came back at 0.39 grams. And the last incident, where it was delivered in a baggie in the men's room, that came back at 0.17 grams of cocaine. So stipulated, Mr. Andrews? Yes. Okay, so one of the rocks was 0.38, the other one was 0.39. Is that correct? Yes. And the baggie, the powder in the baggie was 0.17? Yes. Thank you. Let's go off the record for a second. Let's go back on the record. Let the record reflect both parties are present, and we'll continue this direct testimony. Okay, we're going to count 7 now. Yes, count 7 and 8, which should be for, if I'm not mistaken, July 18th, 2008. Yes. Investigator, on that day, did you have occasion to make a return visit? Yes, I did. And again, Investigator Smither was with you? Yes. Who was the bartender that time? A female named Sandy. Sandy, right. And did you get your drinks from Sandy? Yes, I did. And what did you order this time? A beer. And was she able to? She served you accordingly? Yes. Who else did you see here on this occasion that was proved relevant to your investigation? Ron Diaz. Where was Ron when you first saw him that night or that day? I observed him just in the bar near the pool table area. Okay, and about what time on that day was this? Do you recall? I do not recall. I think it was in the afternoon. Okay, if I mentioned about 2:20, is that about right? That's probably accurate. Did you have any discussions with Sandy, the bartender, about Ron? I do not recall that. Would looking at your report help refresh your recollection on that topic? Yes. If I may have you look and review page 8 at the top of your report. Okay. And in looking at that part of your report, does that help refresh your recollection? Yes. And what if any discussion did you have with Sandy the bartender about Ron? I asked Sandy where Ron was, and I believe she said she didn't know. Okay, and at some point thereafter, did you find Ron? Yes. When did you first come to recognize him then? I recognized he came in at some point, but I recognized him near the pool table. Okay, and did you go over to him or did he come over to you? He came over to me. When he got over to your location, where are you? Sitting at the bar. Where's Sandy? Behind the bar. What is the nature of your contact with Ron at that point? He basically walked up to me and asked if I was looking for anything. I told him yes, and he told me to follow him into the restroom. Okay, did you do that? Yes, I did. And when you were both in the restroom, what discussion did you have with Ron? I told him that I wanted $20 worth, and he proceeded to sell me the same small Ziploc bag with the white powder substance on past occasions. All right, and you took possession of that item? Yes, I did. And once you had possession, did you leave the restroom? Yes, I did. Where did you go? Back to the fixed bar. Was Sandy still there? Yes. And let me ask you, up till this point in time, you discussed about certain transactions occurring in the restroom. Was that always the men's room? Yes. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.